If you ever want to hang out and watch me prospect, I go online and I will stream picture in picture, and I'll have like rotating, and I'll take the Mojo stats of my calls and my contact rate and put it in here. It's almost like a gamer, the video gamers, and they have their streams. It's almost like I'm broadcasting the video game of prospecting on YouTube and Facebook Live. I started in around 1992. My mom and dad were both real estate agents. My dad was a buyer's agent. My mom was a listing agent and the transaction coordinator. Pre-internet, so it was a lot of advertising in the newspaper and dropping off flyers and a little bit of door knocking and canvassing. And I was in the Army at the time, and it was really hard. I picked the hardest job, and it's 11 Bravo, which is an infantry, just shooting guns and rockets. It's fun. It's what you see on TV, but not all it's cracked up to be. So at one point I said, if I could apply the amount of effort it takes to do this job in the military to anything else outside of the military, I would be very successful. So I came home. Ultimately, it wasn't really even just to come home to do my mom and dad's business. I jumped into theater for a little bit of spell. I knew I had to go to college, so I went to college. I lasted maybe a semester. Yeah, got my license, started selling real estate. I was with my parents in that capacity as more as a telemarketer. I really wasn't going on listing presentations. The success was just failing a lot. I start by the evolution of Frankensteining my headset. This is actually the original iPhone headphones, but it's two of them. If you notice, the original iPhone headphone has the inline microphone on the right ear, not on the left ear. But if you want to double fist and use two telephones at the same time, you have to do a hack job. So I snipped the headset and put the inline mic from a second headset on here. It'll drop a crazy glue. Quite proud of my technological advances. So I'll have one ear with this telephone, my right ear, and then I'll have a second telephone with my left ear right here. And I'll have those charging there. Now I'll go to the data and the dialer, and I will split my screen. I'll use a second window, incognito window. On the right hand side, go to the data and dialer, and I have my right hand dialer, and I have my left hand dialer that I'll log into Mojo with. Let me see. The two paths. One is you either go out and get the business prospecting, or you wait for it to come to you, marketing and advertising. So my dad, being a buyer's agent, he did a lot of advertising. He got the up calls from the magazines, and he showed homes. Whereas my mother would do the prospecting, not so much as much as my siblings. So when I came in there, I gravitated just by default to sit down and be on the phones. So as a new agent, I was just very fortunate that I didn't get attracted or exposed to sitting and waiting for the business to come to me, sitting there spending money on the leads to come. So as a new agent, I would say find that path, but no, one of them is very expensive and time consuming, and one of them is in your control. Prospecting is absolutely in your control. My database is about 45,000 phone numbers. So about 22,000 on my left ear, 22,000 some change on my right ear, and I'll log into my left ear first. When I started gravitating towards the telemarketing, I never was really taught about past clients, fear of influence. Branding wasn't really a catchphrase like it is now. So over the many, many years, I'd say from 93 to 2003, it was strictly telemarketing, generating a lead, going to the listing presentation, getting the contract, and that was it. There was no relationship afterwards. It's kind of strange to look back on it now. I don't even remember a relationship. Like, I barely remember any of the clients, and I was doing 20, 30, 40 deals a year, but they were just in and out. And it was a very different dynamic, I think, in the business there. You could just go in and it wasn't an expectation of service. That's kind of weird to say, but now people are more review economies type, where they look into who are they going to hire. Back then it was whoever, right? So I'd say from the beginning, first 10 years, I did it wrong in the sense that I didn't brand myself. I didn't work my past clients' sphere of influence, love them and leave them. And then I moved into a new territory where I became a father. I became a member of the community. I had wrapped a vehicle. I started putting my name out. I bought a house. And so this whole new avenue of creating recognition, becoming famous. 2003. With this right here, this is a Mojo dialer keypad, custom Motley Crue edition dialer keypad. So this is my left ear, this is my right ear. When I open up this application, it creates a macro that you can hit this button. So I don't even have to type anything now. Start dialer on the right ear, start dialer on the left ear. This thing I just didn't follow through on the relationships until probably as soon as the market crashed, right? 2007, 8, 9. I already had a name where people were starting to get to know, like, and trust me. I was one of the biggest agents in that community. And it was more of the relationships landed in my lap where I started seeing other parents. So it was almost like I was a child still. I didn't have an adult mind. So I didn't think like an adult in the sense that I would make these relationships. I wasn't hanging out with other dads and moms. I was just doing my own thing. My left ear fires up, and it is now dialing on my left ear 3 people. And my right ear's coming up. There are only, by my definition, 2 ways to prospect. By the phone and on the door. No other way. You cannot prospect on the internet. That is a passive method for, even open houses, it's a passive method for someone to come to you on their terms, but you cannot demand an answer right now. At the door and on the phones, you can face-to-face or on the phone ask somebody, are you in or are you out? Are you interested in selling or not, right? Not in those specific scripts. But the difference is the time spent on prospecting is still predictable. I can spend 4 or 5 hours on the phones and I will generate 1 lead, a bona fide lead in my area of a name and an address and possibly an email address of somebody who's interested in selling. If you said, James, right now I got $10,000 and I need to get a lead today, I wouldn't know where to spend that. What would you do? Go to .com, any of those .coms or Facebook, and put an ad? There's no way you would generate a listing lead from that. It's very slim. Okay, it's a possibility. You might get lucky. If you do it again. Show me you can do it again. And if you can do it again, then I'm signing up. The thing is that most of the top agents, they have their own little niche as to how they do it, but the majority of them, either they don't share or they're exhausting a ton of money in those platforms. Like, let's put it this way. Zillow has 160 million monthly active users. And there are only 6 million homes sold a year. So that means there's roughly 154 million nobodies on the internet. Those nobodies are being sold back to agents. That, to me, those odds are not reliable enough. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely prospecting still does work. It is monotonous. I improve my results by, again, using 2 headsets. So I use 3 lines on my left ear and 3 lines on my right ear, and I'm sitting there calling 6-7 hours a day.
Hi, this is Lindsay.
Hi, my name is James. I'm a real estate agent. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house.
No, we're planning to stay put. Thanks for calling, though.
You think maybe later down the road you'd reconsider? Maybe next year?
No, we're pretty much set to stay here, but thank you.
All right, well, thanks for your time. You have a good day. All right, that was an expired on the right-hand side. Normally, I don't hit them with that second question, but because they were an expired, I do follow up with that. You think maybe later down the road, even though I didn't hear her hesitate, because she was an expired, I do want to go in and make sure, just one more dig at, are you sure? And she says no, so I don't do anything other than just hit contact. If you could craft a perfect moment for you to work your butt off looking for listings, it would be right now, June of 2021. Like, everybody who was going to sell last year held off, so now they're going to sell this year. Compiling a database of individuals who say maybe as fast as you can right now is something that if you're a full-time agent and you want to make this happen, you should be on the phones from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Period. There should be nothing more important, unless you have money to spend on something coming in. Because my script is so short, I don't have a problem holding 2 conversations. My goal has always been 100 contacts a day. Contacts, not outbound dials. Those go into thousands in some cases. There have been days where I've hit 500 to 700 contacts in a day with the 2 headsets. Now, on a really amazing day, I could hit 300 contacts in one day. But you got to understand, the amount of people you have to talk to is so far from the lie that most people say that you talk to. And I see the numbers. They'll say, oh, you make 30 contacts a day, you'll do X amount. I die off there. There's a 0 missing there. I think you have to do a minimum of 100 contacts a day. If I make 100 contacts a day, I generate 3 bona fide names and numbers and address of somebody in my area that I'm interested, in working. I take those 3 to 5 and I put them into a drip campaign. So it's lead generation and follow-up, and using mail, email, text, phone, and door to continue the relationship building. There's a period now that never really existed before, and I think it's because during the market crash, a lot of people got real reluctant to make decisions as fast about their real estate future. Before, say, pre-market crash, I could pick up the phone, speak to someone, set an appointment, and get a listing within a day. Now, it takes anywhere from a month to 3 years to build that relationship with an individual. So getting a lead today doesn't mean I'm getting a listing tomorrow. It's in my best interest to compile, and I say individual results may vary, individual effort will verify, what that number is that sets that tipping point between something happening and thinking it's a complete waste of time. Because I do have that. I do the one-on-one, and I do have a lot of people who are like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you could sit here all day. It is so depressing. You have a lot of people yelling at you. They're hanging up on you. This is miserable. How do you sit here all day? Because I know that it works. I recently relocated from my previous territory where I was the number 1 agent in that city. And in 2016, I moved here.
How far away from your previous location?
40 miles. It's 40 minutes away. Basically, I don't know anybody here. In 2016, I was nothing in this town.
Was that hard?
I didn't know the streets. I didn't know the names. I didn't have a name. I knew nothing. All I knew is that I know how to lead generate. And I remember, because I've been doing the vlog for a while now, and I remember looking at the camera saying, if I'm still in the business, I'm in the moving truck and boxes, and I said, if I'm still in the business in 2 years from now, it's because my shit works. Well, 6 years later, but it took me 100 doors a day and 100 contacts a day, not negotiable, 2016, 17, 8. I mean, it was just a matter of months before people started recognizing my name, because I have my vehicle wrapped and I know how to market just enough to get my name out there, but it was not easy. I can't imagine any agent in this industry starting today without that kind of intensity. I mean, I get people all the time, hey man, I want to be your student. What's it going to take? Most real estate agents come in, it's like joining the Navy. Then there's the Navy SEALs. Not everybody who joins the Navy wants to be a SEAL. So welcome to the Navy, but this isn't the Navy. This is going to be a whole nother animal that very, very few people are going to, they're not going to do it. Most people would rather, they'd rather do anything else. It's disgusting, the thought of picking up the phone and calling a complete stranger, but it's all in the script. It's in your expectation. If you have the right script and the right expectation, you can't fail.
Hello?
Hi, my name is James. I'm a real estate agent. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house.
Oh, James, I can't afford to move anywhere else right now. Houses are way too high.
Yeah, you think maybe later down the road you'd reconsider?
Possibly if this market comes down a little bit.
All right. You have any idea where you'd move to if you sold?
I might want something a little bigger. I mean, we're working from home a lot right now. I want some office space, so maybe some great outdoor living space.
Okay.
But again, I can't sell high and buy high.
Sure. I'm assuming you're not trying to leave the state, because everybody's leaving, so you probably get more money out of that. So maybe later down the road, do you have any idea what it's worth?
My home right now?
Yeah.
I'm guessing 600.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Would it be okay if maybe I could email you some information on the values? Maybe later we can talk?
Sure.
Okay, great. I'll get your email address. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. We'll keep in touch. And I'll put them into a drip campaign, and that's it. You're not selling right now, so you don't have any value to close right now. In my script, there's a lot of subliminal stealth negotiations, I guess you would call it. In 2002, Microsoft began a study, and that study was published in an article by Time Magazine in 2014, and the title of it was that the average human has the attention span of a goldfish. You've heard that, right? The goldfish theory. It's about 8 seconds. So in 2002, it was 12 seconds. In 2014, when that article was published, it's 8 seconds. What do you think it is in 2021? Let's just say it's 6. Let's just say it's 6.
Okay.
So now we have a consumer who has caller ID and reluctance to answer the phone. We're lucky if they answer the phone. And there's 2 questions that they have in their head. Who the hell is this, and what do you want? I have less than 6 seconds to answer that question and get what I want, which is a miracle to do. If I go in, and you might not have noticed, but my tone is extremely monotone. It is not, "Hi, this is Agent." It was almost like the operator who's bored as hell, because I have less than 6 seconds, and I have to not reveal who I am and what I do until the moment your knee-jerk reaction hits me. And I'm gonna listen to that response to pick up on a subtle but distinct no that sounds like a maybe. You gave it to me willingly just now, so I didn't have to fight for it. But when you're calling people and you say, "Hi, my name is Agent with Company. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house," most of the time they say no. There's 2 ways people say no. They say no, or they go, "No, that's all I need." Especially at the door, forget about it. I can see it. What happens is these individuals, all they hear, well, going back to the caller ID thing, they want to know, who the hell are you and what do you want? I got 6 seconds to do it. So, "My name is Agent with Company. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house." If I went in there with a happy, cheery voice, like if you get a call and someone's like, "Hey, how's it going, Kimberly?" You're like, who are you, salesperson, right? You're already in your mind formulating the rejection from your gut to say no. Even if you're interested in that 6 seconds, because we're not as dumb as a goldfish, we're actually much faster, but we're processing that information to give a response that is a no, because this phone is a not right now machine. So it's all about not right now. All I'm looking for is the not right now. I'm not looking for anyone to say yes. I never, hardly ever get anyone who says yes. I'm okay with that. I'm looking to find that needle in a haystack, which, given 100 contacts, I have 2 or 3 of those in that 100 contacts who will say, "No, oh, do you think maybe later down the road you'd reconsider?" What I'm doing is, because it's not right now, I'm throwing back a word that tells them I'm leaving. "You think maybe later down the road you'd I'm swiping left for them, saying, "I'm out of here. You think maybe later down the road you'd reconsider?" "Well, this and this." If they reveal that, then they're in. Like, I have something there. If they say, no, I'm not interested, in many cases, I'll flag them for a follow-up, and I'll ask the same question. They don't know who I am. I'll call back a month later and see if I get that same, "No, oh, do you think maybe later down the road?" What I'm trying to do is just capture their intention without them knowing they're giving it to me. So they're putting up this wall and saying, "No, not right now. You think maybe later down the road you'd reconsider?" "Well, we were thinking, okay, do you have any idea what it's worth?" What I'm doing now is I'm deflecting from the moment of a salesperson trying to get information to now seeing how far I can push my luck to get more of what I want. And the only thing people want to know is, how much am I getting and when do I gotta move? So I'm putting it into the future because they don't want that responsibility of answering the question right now. Even if it's in a month or two from now, they'll say, no, not right now. You think maybe later down the road you'd reconsider? Well, we were thinking about maybe in August or September. Oh, okay, great. Do you have any idea where you're moving to? So now I'm no longer a salesperson asking that information. I'm putting them into not a personal question, but a space where it gets them interested in the destination, and I can hear whether if they say, no, I have no idea, I'm also pre-qualifying whether or not they're going to be worthy of following up, because they're just not anything there. So there's a lot of, in just that 6 to 10 second moment, I'm identifying whether or not they're worth following up on. There might be that follow-up where, again, I'll ask them, you think maybe later down the road? Say, yeah, maybe later. I'd love to send you out some information. Maybe later we can talk. So I'm literally shutting myself, especially at the door. I'm doing more body language where I'm twisting my body, pretending I'm walking away. And in my book, I say like Columbo. You ever watch Columbo? You got to see it. It's totally boring, 70s show. But Columbo was a detective that he's like a goofball, right? But he always knew who the criminal was who was caught, and they'd call him in. The cops would call him in to help him out with the investigation. And he knew who was already guilty ahead of time, but he would play dumb and at the very end like ask that question that incriminates them. So I do that where I play like I'm leaving, and I say, oh, one more question. That's a Columbo line. We're like, just one more question. And that was the question that gets them. So I'll say, you think maybe later? Or I'll say, you have any idea what it's worth? And they'll go in and say, well, regardless, I don't care if they know what it's worth. It's a lead into a 3-step process that I go through. And that is identifying, do I have a lead? When will they sell? And how do I follow up? Because it's not today. Do I have a lead? Are you interested in selling? Maybe later down the road? Okay, great. When will they sell? 6 months, 3 months? That identifies motivation. How much aggressive pursuit am I going to do? Am I going to send them a letter? Am I going to drop off a package? Or is it just going to be an email? And that follow-up is going to be based on those 5: mail, email, text, phone, door. As I'm capturing that information, all I have an expectation for is just to get the name. I just want to know if it's there. And if I take 300 of those people and put them into a database, within 90 days, most of the people, they have an expectation. So I say within 90 days, I can make it so you have a database of 100 of these people. 100 of these people are better than 1,000 Facebook leads all day long. Or I don't even call them leads, by the way. I call them inquiries. I think it's a malpractice to say internet lead. That's not a lead. It's an inquiry that you can convert into a lead. But when people go in and say, oh, I got all these leads, it's like, you don't have leads. They're just a name and a number. They're the 154 million people on the internet checking out their ex-wife's properties. They're not real. And it might just be a title, but for me, it has to do with my expectation. I have an expectation. I call 100 people. I'm going to get 3 people who hesitate. I'm going to take those 3 people, put them into a database, and inside of that database of roughly 300 to 400 people, some of those are going to pop. So I have a database right now, pre-pandemic, and during the pandemic, I continue calling and calling. So it's going to start popping like mad because I have a list of people who I've built that relationship with, who I have been emailing the values, been emailing my name and number. And real estate's a popularity contest. They're going to pick with the person that they know, like, and trust. You're not going to get it as being a stranger, but building that relationship over a year or 6 months, you will. So you can see how we've already dialed 16 people in one conversation. It's repetitious boredom at its finest. One of my biggest mistakes, again, for the newer agents is...
If you like this interview you're watching and you want to see more like this one, make sure you hit the subscribe button for the Prospecting Today YouTube channel.
Plant your roots and never lift. I'm 100% convinced that if I never left this territory in 1993, I'd be one of the top 5 agents in Southern California, period. One of the biggest mistakes I made was I've reinvented myself and relocated 7 times in completely different foreign areas. Headphone.
Hello?
Hi, my name is James. I'm a real estate agent. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house. Hello? They hung up on me. That's a joke. They always hang up on it. The technology I use right now, a CRM is the lifeblood of the business, and I've gone through a lot of CRMs. In my opinion, the CRM begins with and ends with those 5 precepts, pillars. It has to have mail, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, a stamp and an envelope. That's still not dead. If anything, it's better than ever. Sure, it's 50 to 55 cents to mail, but nobody gets mail, therefore better, right? Email done right, better, bomb. So you do video email and it gets better, right? Better lighting. So mail, email, text messaging. The CRM preferably would have it. So I use Mojo. Mojo has a letter. In most CRMs, when you look out there, like that's the first thing. If someone says, "Oh, I got the CRM," I said, "Does it do letters?" No, that's it. And for many years, Top Producer was really the only one who did the letters, and then Mojo implemented, like actually printing from that campaign and doing mail merge. And it seems kind of like primitive, like letters. What, you mean like paper? Yes, it works. Being able to mail your business card. Not everybody's online. So mail, email, and again, you'll see as I do this little hand gesture, it's passive and active. And so your CRM has to support the only 5 known passive and active methods of communication. It's a long answer, I know. CRM has to have mail, has to be able to do email. Text, I'm not a fan of spam text. I think it's horrible. I get 3 or 4 a day and it looks like it's genuine, and then when I type stop, it says you've been opted out, which tells me you're using a program. I'll never use you. It's disgusting. I think text is a little too personal, right? But these 3 are passive, meaning that you could send it and hope that something comes back from it. Crossing the line is phone and door. Mojo does mail, Mojo does email. The text, I just don't use it. Mojo does the phone. So that's automatic, right? The dialer. And then the door, they don't do the doors, but I have software for that. So I use BombBomb integrated with Mojo. And I use Sales Rabbit, which is a door knocking app, to track my movements on that also. I integrate that technology. ZenTap is the one who does my website, gorgeous websites, but it does a lot more than that. It does a lot of social posting and sharing of content, along with an app called RoomView, ROMVU, which again does a lot of automation of social media posting. Social media in particular, though, is very passive unless you do it right. And by right, I mean not, hi, check out my new listing, hi, everybody's in real estate, loves me. None of that. I'm talking about like projecting your personality and sharing life and lifestyle and being interesting and curious, where people want to know, like, and trust you. The only reason for that is to get known, liked, and trusted.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, my name is James. I'm a real estate agent. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house.
No, I'm good, man. Appreciate the call, though.
You think maybe later down the road you'd reconsider? Maybe next year?
I don't know.
All right. Well, this place was up for sale a while ago. Did you just decide to keep it, or he hung up? Okay.
He was nice though.
Yeah, and again, this is all about pushing your luck, because most people are just done. Especially, like, again, I'm in a cluster of expireds right now. A lot of leads actually come from what I call a sphere of recognition, which is different than a sphere of influence. It's a sphere of where people say, I see you everywhere. I know you from somewhere, right? My friend said, it's like a referral, but it's almost like a popularity contest again, where they find you. But what I'm listening to is that knee-jerk response, and my expectation isn't to set an appointment right now. As long as that is not an expectation, I'm never a failure. If I talk to 100 people, like right now, this one individual who said, no, I said, you think maybe later? And he goes, what? And then he hung up on me. I didn't expect to set an appointment. He said not right now. Why would I think that he was ready to do anything? But I'm not leaving it at just that. I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna put a quick note that says he hesitated, right? I'm not going to put in a whole bunch of notes. Then I'm going to move him into a follow-up system, which I will reach out to him in about a month from now, and I'll ask him the same question again. And at that point, who knows what he'll say, since he's a recent expired. Maybe right now, because he's an expired, he's been pounded way too hard by every other agent, clearly using the wrong information and bad scripts and just pushing their luck. I'm in and out. If he said maybe later down the road, I would still, my prospecting for the purposes of lead generation, my expectation is only to find out, do I have a lead? When will they sell? How do I follow up? Do I have a lead? Yeah, he's not really totally lost, right? He's not right now. Okay. When will they sell? Not right now. So that means chill out. Don't try to close on anything. How do I follow up? Well, on this particular record, there's an email address, but I'm not going to just email because I don't know if that's his, if it works. And he didn't show any interest. There's no point at this time to do it. But because he said no, there's nothing more for me to do other than to make sure that I don't just throw him in the garbage. I'm going to call him again in a month. You think maybe later. And at some point, I'm going to get more than just no, hang up, no, hang up, no, hang up. He's going to reveal a bit more. He might not be the right time right now. Prospecting has never changed. It's always been predictable. That's why I do it. If I am spending money on that, it's to continue that relationship. So surprisingly, I have a very low budget when it comes to lead generation and follow-up. If it's anything, the CRM and the mailers, where my money goes is a lot into the technology of branding and marketing. 2012, bottom of the market, everything's hurting. I said, I got to do something. I'm calling on the phones, but I'm burnt out. It was just, everything was compiling. And I said, I'm going to go knock on doors. I said, screw this. I'm going to grab a stack of business cards. And it was maybe 20 doors before I knocked on someone's. I'll never forget it. The guy, it's kind of weird, but he opens the door in his underwear and he's holding a poodle, right? And I'm like, okay, so there's a door knocking. And I said, hi, my name. Same script on the phone, by the way, as it is on the doors. I really need to know, are they interested? And that's it. So I said, hi, my name's Agent with the company. I was just wondering if you had any interest in selling your house. And he said, actually, we are. We're going to give our house back to the bank, and that's that. I said, no, hold on. Have you heard of a short sale? He goes, well, no. Well, you know what? I'd like to schedule an appointment, come back out at a better time. Whatever, the underwear and the dog. Let me come back another time. He goes, sure. So I listed it. And it was a short sale, a successful short sale. But a light bulb went off then and said, you know what? And it was just until 2012. I never really considered knocking on a door. Not even when people say get a listing and do an open house and invite the neighbors. That was never a thing. But come 2012, when I realized this is even better than cold calling, because they can't hang up on you. You're in your farm. You can see the expression of their faces. They can't lie to you because of that short. And I've always known about that 6 seconds and the short attention span. But it was just the ability to capture them and see them face to face. It was like taking candy from a baby, if they're interested. If they're not, thank you very much, have a nice day. I mean, that's always the thing too at the doors, is people want you off. Most people say you're interrupting. Then the best thing you can do is get the hell off their lawn. They say on the telephones, they're interrupting. Then the best thing you can do is get the hell off their phone. Don't sit there and say, hi, how you doing? This is da-da-da. It's insane that in 2021, people are still using scripts designed for the attention span and the consumer of Granny in Alabama, who's got all the time in the world to listen to this. My script is designed for New York and California, in and out, but it's pleasant, it's quick, in and out. At the doors, roughly 23% of the doors open. So you knock on 100 doors, you'll have 23 conversations. Of those 23, you will capture 1 to 2 leads. But the leads that I get at the door, and I say leads, I don't throw that word lightly, I'm saying inquiries. I'm saying, are you interested? Maybe later. Okay, great. I'd love to send you out some information. Sometimes they invite you in. At door knocking, I can go to a door, and I've done it many times. I can go to a door, connect, and have a contract signed within 72 hours. which is, you don't see that on the phones anymore. I haven't seen that in forever. It's so simple, but it is all about the technique. It is about getting in and getting out. If they're interested, push your luck a little bit, but get the hell out of there. So I knock on the door, and the guy opens up the door, and his dog tears out, right? He starts running. And he looks at me and goes, if my dog gets hit by a car, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm like, let's get that dog, right? And he's like, you mother, he's cursing me as I'm trying to chase his dog. He goes, no, don't chase him. And it's near a high avenue. So he got his dog, came back, and then he goes, you should not, I'm like, I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. And I'm, on my app going, never knock on this guy's door again, right? You never forget that door. And as I'm walking, I knock on the next door, and then I go to the next door. He comes out and he goes, excuse me. I'm like, oh man, we're not done yet. Okay, let's warm up the elbows. And he goes, I'm really sorry. He goes, I apologize for being that rude. I just love my dog, and it's a vein. I'm like, dude, oh my God, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. It's okay. Turns out, and I mentioned him in my book, his dog's name is Radar. Now I go over there and bring biscuits. He's my friend. We hung out. He's giving me referrals. So it's the strangest thing, the meanest, and I've had this situation 4 or 5 times where the nastiest people, if you can keep your composure and not put on a dick face and just be like, almost like a little puppy dog face where like, please don't hit me. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of weird. My son could never do it. Like he gets like his Irish up and he's ready to, like, you can tell he's angry. My wife, same thing. Me, I diffuse the situation by saying, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. And they'll come back out and say, look, I'm sorry, man. I'm like, it's really strange, but it has to do with energy between two people. So the nastiness, another story that's in the book. I had one guy, I knocked on the first door, hot lead, knocked on the second door, not home, knocked on the third door, having a conversation, nothing there, knocked on the fourth door, I'm walking out, second door walks out and he's holding my propaganda, which is a notepad or something, and he's screaming, is this yours? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, fuck. And he starts just throwing F-bombs. And like he sees my van parked in front of his house, right? Throws it to it and starts screaming and yelling. I'm like, whoa. He goes, is this your fucking car? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, I mean, he's just irate. He's probably about 5 feet tall, 150 pounds wet. But he was either off his meds or on his meds. But he was a wild cat. I was shattered. Like, I care, right? Yeah. A little bit. And he's just screaming and yelling. I walk to him, and he's like, move your car, screaming. And he picks up my notepad again and throws it on the hood of my car. And so I get in my car. I'm like, okay, now I'm safe. I want to see. And the same for the phones. I might be a masochist where when I get someone nasty, I listen to see how far will a complete stranger go with their words. How can they say that? Like, it's not in my nature to be that nasty. So I want to know. You don't know who I am. Why would you? Like, I could be on my last leg here and you're cussing me. I know I got your address, mister. So anyhow, he's screaming and yelling. I go, you know what? And all of a sudden, I roll down the window. I go, what's your problem, man? Yeah, right. He just like took him to the next level. And I just roll up. I go, I'm out of here. And he leans over to the front of my car and he like makes this like jerking spitting gesture. And I was like, okay, that's where I'm going to stop, right? So I stop my car, get out, look at the front, and he goes, you got a problem? I go, no, he didn't spit. Maybe he's got a cotton mouth or something. But he didn't spit, and I said, okay, I get in my car. You mother, if you come back here, I'm going to kill you, da-da-da. And I'm like, holy crap. So I pull down around the corner, just close enough to see his house, and clearly I'm not door knocking the rest of that day, because I'm just like, ugh. Yeah. So I call the cops, and I'm like, look, you guys come out here real quick. I go, I want you to see my face and that house. If I show up dead or something, I go, please, and and the cops show up, and I go, please tell me that house you go to once a week, because there's always that house in the neighborhood that all cops show up at. And he goes, no, I didn't. I said, okay. Turns out the guy right across the street is a cop. One of my followers now got his license. He goes, yeah, that guy. What it was there's street signs that I didn't notice. So I'm going back to there's always a reason why people are triggered. And I didn't notice, it was near a school, and there were street signs that say no parking without permit. But they're so spread out far apart that I didn't see that. And I parked my massive Sprinter in front of the parking Nazi, I guess is the word, when people are just like the HOA psychopath. parked in front of his house with my big billboard without a permit, and then I knocked on his door and woke him up. So it was a combination of things that set him off. Even if I had a full-length conversation with this guy, I promise you by next week he won't know who I am. So in many cases, unless they know who I am 100%, I go in with a completely cold script again. I'll say, hi, my name is Agent. Hi, my name is James. I'm a real estate agent. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house. Hello?
I don't speak English.
¿Hablas español?
I don't speak English. Sí.
Sí, estoy llamando para ver si está pensando a vender la casa. Lead generation, my expectation is to generate leads. Follow-up, my expectation is to set appointments. There is no passing go and collecting that $200. You got to lead generate, follow up, and get the appointment. On the follow-up, though, I don't feel rejection. Sometimes, like I got a guy in my neighborhood, he was doing a garage sale. It's about a week ago. I just got rejected yesterday, right? So I go to his door, I buy an electronic battleship, super killer deal. And I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm James Festini. Well, he sees my van, and he knows my neighborhood, and I farm it. So you guys thinking about selling? And he goes, as a matter of fact, we are. It's a divorce situation. And I said, oh, okay, well, are you interviewing agents for the job? I'd like to apply. He goes, well, actually, we're going to go with Kurt, right? And Kurt was the one who sold him the house. Kurt's going to be his agent. Kurt lives 10 doors down. Kurt's still kind of in the business. There's only two reasons you win or lose a listing, win or lose a contract: love or money. There's no other reason why you would win or lose besides love or money. And by money, I mean better commission, lower commission, or offering a higher price. Love, know, like, and trust, a bond, a previous relationship. So when I approach someone, this individual, and if somebody tells me I have an agent, I want to know, hey, who's the agent? Maybe I know them. I'd love to get a heads up on this property. The inventory is low. I'd love to take a look at the place whenever it's coming up. Well, his name is John something. Okay, now I know you don't have really an agent, and I have a chance. But if he says Kurt was this, now you can beat money with more money or less commission, but you can't beat love. If somebody says, my friend from church, my mother, it's really, really hard to break that bond. And so I called him, sent him my package, sent him my information, followed up. I knew he was going to be listing. And then I got a hold of him last night. He goes, yeah, we're going to be meeting with Kurt Friday. I said, all right, well, thank you. There's really there's nothing more, to it. The rejection is there. I think my wife is more offended because she thinks I should get along. But at the end of the day, there's a relationship there, and you can't break that relationship. I truly believe right now there's a shift. We're in it, and we won't see it, but we're in it right now. There are roughly 1.5 million licensed real estate agents in America. And there are 150,000 gas stations. This is a weird analogy, but this is how I visualize what it is. Imagine in your town if next to every gas station there was one real estate agent. Could they handle the amount of inventory in your territory? The answer is yes. So visualizing how many agents we have too many of, if we got rid of 99% of the real estate agents on the planet, there would still be enough agents to handle a geographical territory. So for me, that's why I related to gas stations, because think of where you live and say, if there was one agent with like a little team, could they handle the 30 or 40 sides in your city and the other one down the street? So there is a purge happening right now where those 99% of the real estate agents are leaving the business. They won't be able to make it back. It's now as we speak. If the inventory increases, fine, that'll change. But the evolution of the way the technology is and the affordability, the attack on commissions, just all of the culmination, the XPs and the compasses and all of these, the Zillow buying up things left and right. I believe that, well, in the market, just before the crash, it was 1.3, 1.4 million real estate agents, and we got under 1 million at the peak of the crash. I believe that right now, I'd say, let's just be generous, 10 years, could be less. 99% of those agents are going to leave, never to return. Like it's just not going to be possible, primarily because of the technology. You know, things are just being made easier, and agents, whether they're teams or individuals who can handle a bigger workload, will be the only ones to survive, which is fine with me. I could stand 99% of them leaving. 99% of them don't belong here. There's enough business for those of us who are really taking this seriously, and not to discourage anyone from starting, but it's a lot harder than it used to be to obtain the listings. Finding the individual who is interested in selling is getting harder and harder. I mean, obviously, look at the inventory right now. Even if the inventory increases, how many of these agents, they say the average agent sells 2 houses a year. That means there's 50% of them that sell 1 to 0. And then the rest of them, what is it? The Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule that says that 80% of the people do, or 20% of the agents do 80% of the work. I think it's very different. I think it's more like 95% of the real estate agents don't work. And the survival of the fittest, the evolution, I mean, all of these companies gobbling up, Zillow buying showing time, not a big deal. But I also feel like in the next several years, Amazon will probably buy Realogy and become Amazon Real Estate. It's an interesting prediction, right? I think Zillow will gobble up Redfin and Compass or one of those other platforms. But we're going to be in an industry where it's going to be either transactional, where it's assembly line, get in and out, where people just don't want to mess with it, and then there's going to be the rest of them who want to have that concierge level of service. There's only 2 ways for you to go out and hunt it down: telephone and the door. Some will say, oh, well, what about open house? How many open houses have I ever sat in where no one shows up? It's passive. Well, what about DM? You DM me right now, see how long it takes for me to get back to you. It's passive. You're going to wait for it. Oh, well, farming, it's passive. Passive, passive, passive. You wait for someone to come to you. The biggest obstacle right now is the death of the telephones. I mean, in the book I said that telephones were on life support. Telemarketing's on life support. There was a big event, maybe you know about it, bigger than the do not call list in 2003. There was a moment in the world of telemarketing and prospecting that went largely unnoticed because it wasn't frontline news, but in my opinion was far more devastating to the telemarketing industry and prospecting industry than the do not call list. It's an event called Stir Shaken, and it was a summit of the 5 telecommunications companies and the FCC. So in 2003, the do not call list comes in, but it's a joke for many, many years. Then came the cellular phones. Everybody has the caller ID, but now because the FCC controlled the telephone numbers, Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, they could sell you the phone number, but they couldn't do anything with the data per se. So no matter what you did by calling AT&T or T-Mobile and saying, I keep getting these calls from telemarketers, I want it to stop, they didn't have the power because they couldn't maintain a do not call list. So there were these apps out there that were Nomo Robo, Mr. Caller ID. So people would have these third-party apps to pop up your caller ID as possible spam, selected spam. But in 2019, that summit came and went, and the FCC gave permission to these telecommunications companies to say, do your own do not call, do what you want with that data. I don't know if you noticed, but up until about 2 years ago, you started getting calls that said suspected spam. 3 years ago, you'd have to buy an app for that to show up, or you'd have to buy into something, but it was kind of unheard of, right? Now what happens is the Sprint, if you dial into their network with a specific caller ID, they know that one individual is not going to call into the Verizon network 20 times in an hour. Telemarketer, mark as spam, mark as scam. That meant that your caller ID as a telemarketer was marked as scam within a couple of days, where that's far more damning than the do not call list. It immediately alerts people when they pick up, who are you and what do you want? Ignore it. So that's one of the biggest things, is that now all of these companies have it. And nobody really talked about it. I mean, nobody really noticed that all of a sudden you look at it and it says suspected spam, where for many, many years you didn't have that in your caller ID. It just was there. So that's one of the biggest nails in the coffin of telemarketing. If you're a full-time agent and you're going to start prospecting, it should be from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. not negotiating. You just can't. What else are you doing?
If you like this video and you'd like to see more like it, subscribe to the Prospecting Today YouTube channel.